Hello, everyone. This is Wolf Den Podcast coming at you for episode 5. It's that time of the week again. I'm Automan, joined by Frenchie as usual. And we don't really have a lot for you this week. If you've been paying attention to Star Wars news or watched The Bad Batch, all other YouTubers seem to be in the same boat because there really wasn't anything to talk about this week. In our last podcast, we had theorized one of our theories for this episode being called Infested was that it sounded like a side mission, and boy, was it the side mission of side missions.
Way outsides.
Yeah, and normally we do an episode rating before we get into the episode. So for me, I'm gonna have to give it a 2 out of 10, and I'll get into why later. Frenchie, what about you?
Boy, I don't know, man. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10, and I'll kind of get into why later. I'm kind of recapping through the episode right now, and when we were saying, it's gonna be a side mission, I'm looking back through the episode, and I'm kind of, excuse me, thinking about why they called it Infestation. So, obviously, you got the cavern that's infested with those damn bugs. But I was also thinking Sid's parlor was infested by Durand and the Pikes. So I didn't think about that the first time, but that's still pretty dumb.
No, yeah, it was pretty dumb. The only thing that I like is it seems like Omega is becoming less and less the source of the troubles. She's not so much of the little girl who gets who just does stupid stuff. I guess that makes sense. She had to convince everyone to help Sid, sure, but whatever. It's not like she was oh, I'm gonna run off and get kidnapped by a bounty hunter because I'm naive or whatever.
Right.
So she's learning the streets a little bit better, so that's nice. Talk about a side mission.
Yeah, you just brought it up. Actually, I was gonna mention that she once again had to convince Hunter to help somebody. Sid was like, you don't have a choice, basically. I've been keeping secrets, so it's lose-lose if you don't help. And then Omega kind of stepped up, just like she did for Syndulla on Ryloth. And it's fun. We're seeing her kind of not become the leader. I would not put it that far, but we're seeing her kind of taking the initiative where Hunter should be taking the initiative as the leader, but he's not. He just kind of doesn't care. He's becoming less and less of a character we're paying attention to, and the focus is starting to draw more towards Omega. So even with this episode being as low rating as it is, and being the side mission of side missions, making no fucking sense with what the past 12 episodes have been leading towards, I'm trying to pick things out, and I'm thinking because it's leaning more towards not her as the focus of the episode, but her as the focus of the Bad Batch. Possibly we'll see that coming to one of our theories of her getting kidnapped and going back to Kamino. That's far stretch, but I'm trying to think of anything I could pull from this episode. It was cool to see the Pikes. It was cool to see the Pikes again.
Oh yeah, the Pikes are always fun.
And I was seeing, we saw it on another YouTube channel. We watched it, was it Sunday? Star Wars Theories. He mentioned that, the Pikes around this time frame were working with Maul. So, obviously, what Star Wars Theories was saying is, we don't think Crosshair is going to be the main big bad, as we like to call him. Like in Rebels, when Vader got introduced, Vader became the big bad of the season. So will we see Vader or Maul become the big bad of the season? Or maybe season 2, if there is one, will they become the big bad? Because I don't think Crosshair's end goal, purpose for the series is to be the big bad for the series. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think so either. That would probably be probably just underwhelming. Because, he is a big part of the Bad Batch, but for him to be the, like I said, the final boss would kind of be lame.
Yeah, and then and that might be just us overlooking Tarkin, but Tarkin's not really a big bad. He's just kind of a puppet in the Emperor's plans, just like every other Imperial. So I don't think he's considered a big bad at all. He's just doing what he's told, and he doesn't like clones, so he enjoys it too much. But yeah, I really couldn't pull anything from this episode to really discuss or theorize about. Like, they just kind of threw a brick wall in front of the railroad tracks, and they're like, here, figure it out.
Yeah, it's like the only thing you could really think is like giving you an introduction to other people that they might be working with in the underworld to give them context to maybe a future underworld career. Like we've said in the past, Filoni does everything for a reason, whether we like it or not. So I think it just comes at an inconvenient time where we're wrapping up the season just about, and we're looking to see some really major plot developments, and we sort of get a wrench thrown in that. So we might not even see the reason for this episode come to fruition for another season, or who knows, really. I think it is for a reason. It's just, again, we didn't get what we want as far as another episode of major plot development toward the apex. You and I came to the consensus that at this point there is definitely going to be a season 2. That they'll probably wrap up the Crosshair arc, like as him being the big bad for this season, and then maybe he either redeems himself and joins back up at the squad, or maybe dies, or who knows. Yeah, I think at this point, just the way that they've been going, that there really has to be a season 2 to keep developing the character story, to see Omega's development, what her whole role is. Or else this whole thing would have really just been a giant tease, and then if it was only one season, because they might not announce a season 2 right away, so we'd have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But let's say they said there definitely isn't going to be a season 2, then I would give more validity to the theories that you might see Bad Batch in like Mando or something.
Yes, I 100% agree. Yeah, and like you said, it would be a big tease if they just did one season, like all this development, and then it's just kind of like, oh, you were expecting more? Nah, we're done. That's it. Wrapping up shop. And then, like you were just saying, seeing the development of Omega. It's been 13 episodes, and I mean, we've seen her not become such a naive kid, but we haven't really gotten much development from her. You know what I mean? Like, we know she doesn't consider Hunter as her father like we thought towards the beginning. She looks at him and the rest of Bad Batch as her brothers, which they are. She's becoming street smart. She's kind of getting used to this underworld kind of deal. But we haven't seen real development from her, besides the fact she's really caring and intuitive. But I think if they were to end it with one season, it'd be a major loss for not just the viewers, but for Filoni and the Star Wars franchise as a whole, in my opinion.
Yeah, to not come full circle with a new character. Like, we want him to be able to have the ability to develop Omega and the rest of the Bad Batch, just as he did with Ahsoka and, Rex. And of course, everyone wants to see how everyone's story comes to a definitive end. As far as Echo's story, because we know what he's been through.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to not really see more of them. Even if they just give us one more season, even if they just do 2 seasons, if they play the second season properly, they could do it very easily. I just feel like if they try and crush it into 3 episodes, they're gonna rush it and they're gonna ruin the series. Not necessarily like, oh, the series is bad to watch, but like ruin everything that they've worked on to just end it. I mean, then again, it is 3 episodes, but they're only 20 minutes long, so they'd really have to stretch it like hour-long episodes.
Right. Yeah, I think the other thing too, just going into what Star Wars series was saying, developing the idea or just setting the groundwork for like a later episode or later season where we see Maul or just other underground syndicates, because now the Bad Batch has been introduced to one of the biggest crime syndicates. So they made a small, not necessarily a big name for themselves, but a name for themselves with the Pikes. The Pikes are going to know who they are, because they were entangled in a deal that went wrong and they made it right. So the Pikes are very inquisitive. They'll take note of that, at least. They might not say this is like a mercenary force to be reckoned with, but they exist, so we need to keep tabs on them just in case they pop up again. So maybe that was the whole context of said side mission. Again, it comes at a weird time and a part of the season. that late in the season, and next episode is called War Mantle, so I'm hoping that we see some Kaminoan side of things and how their recruitment of conscription soldiers is going and how Crosshair's taking that, and then the possibility of seeing Cody as well. So
thank you. I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, so why don't you want to go into that?
Yeah, so in Legends, Cody becomes a trainer for conscript recruits and the last batches of clones before they shut down the cloning facilities on Kamino. So that's in Legends. Now, obviously, anything that's been brought in from Legends, it's not the Legends story. They just use the context. For example, Thrawn. Thrawn in Legends, he survives the Empire and everything like that. He's the Emperor's right-hand man. And then he goes and pretty much makes his own empire with the Remnant. That's in Legends, though. And then, obviously, in canon, we don't see that. We see him just as the Emperor's right hand with his flagship, the Chimera, and, dealing with Lothal, which before Rebels, we didn't even know was a planet that existed. At least I didn't. So they take Legends and then they kind of make it into their own twist. So they could take Cody, for example, and they could make him appear in the next episode because he was a part of, technically he was a part of Project War Mantle, with the idea of training conscript soldiers and training the last bit of clones that were, ready to be trained. So they could definitely bring him in to the next episode. I doubt they will, but it would be a nice little reprieve and a nice twist to see another character from the Clone Wars, and then for him to see the Bad Batch, who he, according to our knowledge from the deal on Anaxis, he used them quite often, or at least knew of them very well. So we could see him be there as a trainer for new soldiers. Which would be a nice twist. And then, like you were saying, Otto, just more context on the Kamino side of things. We haven't seen Kamino in, 4 episodes? I think it's been 4 episodes now, something like that.
Yeah.
So, to see that, and then maybe even, this is a stretch, and this is just because I want to see more of him. Maybe Hauser got fucking transferred to Kamino to be dealt with by Tarkin, because he is a traitor to the Empire and he's a clone.
Yeah, again, we've been waiting to see how the series is going to come full circle, and the idea that we've been sort of touting is that it'll come full circle on Kamino, that you'll see Omega get kidnapped back to Kamino successfully. Hauser might be on Kamino. The Bad Batch is trying to get up allies, so we might even see Rex on Kamino, go with them to fight in the rebellion. We might see Crosshair switch sides to start the rebellion, and then laying the groundwork for this giant reunion final battle type deal. And I think it's also worth noting, just back to Cody for a second, Cody hated training the new conscripts. He hated it because they were just they didn't have any programming in their genes. They're just normal people. So to take people from scratch and turn them into soldiers with the same skill level as clones, when they were hooked into simulations from birth and had inherited traits that already made them beasts, just great soldiers, high endurance, and everything of that nature, he did not enjoy training the riffraff of the galaxy.
Yeah, he in Legends, I believe he quotes it as, it's a disgrace, and they're inferior to his clone brothers, I believe is the context he uses in the Legends books.
Yeah, so we'll see. Again, I think that theory only has validity if we did have a sort of big reunion of all these characters that we've seen before, and then some new ones for one big final battle. Maybe Rex and Cody have a last standoff, or if we do see Cody, I could only see it. Maybe we see him in the background. Maybe they show them training new clones, and then you just happen to see Commander Cody down there. They're like, oh, there's Cody doing his thing, and that's just to show that he was there and that he's still a thing. Because Filoni has been giving us fan service, of course. We've talked about his fan service in the past, and it'd be hard to I mean, so I think it's definitely on the table that we see Cody, just even if it's just for a second, just to give us just to quench our thirst for fan service. Again, there also are the rumors that Cody is in Kenobi somehow. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I think so. I think the whole Tamara Morrison thing, Kenobi is going to be Boba Fett. That's what I think they're going to go with. I don't think they're going to go the Cody route. Yeah, that's just in my opinion, though.
Yeah, it would make more sense. I mean, why would we see Cody again? Other than, again, maybe just a Kenobi goes on some mission and then he has, like, Cody looks at him like, no way. Like, I knew he wasn't dead. Those bastards said that no one would survive that fall, and here's Kenobi.
Yeah, here's Kenobi, yeah. There wasn't really anything to talk about this episode, so we kind of had to pull some shit out of our ass. But we definitely, I think, pulled out a couple points that when we watched the episode on Friday, we didn't see it. But we definitely pulled a couple little things out. But just kind of recapping on what we hope to see in the next episode, I think is a good way to keep the episode 5 of the podcast rolling. I don't have anything else to say. I don't know about you, but this is Frenchie signing off. Automan, it's all you.
All right. Yeah, no, I just wanted to say one last thing is when we talk about these side missions, it's sort of like Mando, right? Like Mando is just a story of things that are it's just a story of a dude in the universe. It doesn't necessarily need to be this over-the-top crazy adventure, because not everyone in the universe was always experiencing an over-the-top crazy adventure. They're just showing things that are taking place. So I think just going forward, when we get these side missions, it sucks to wait a week to get a side mission, but just keep in mind that it is just a filler to show you something that they went through. It's just, you're just seeing their story for what it is. It's not necessarily a big plot development. It's just something that they went through, and you're seeing your characters do their sort of everyday things. But yeah, with that being said, I think we have some big episodes to look forward to. Definitely didn't want to be too cynical this time, but we got what we got, and that's what we thought. Let us know what you think. But until next time, this is Automan signing off. Thanks for tuning in for episode 5, and we'll see you next week after the episode War Mantle.